The other day, I had Jay Viper on the channel to discuss a very curious topic that he stumbled upon, as he thought it looked odd, almost like Alyssa Mercante was potentially trying to blackmail Geoff Keighley and the Game Awards by exchanging, if she doesn't get invited to them, an article that makes Geoff Keighley and the Game Awards look really bad. And fast forward to now, and she went ahead and published the article that Jay Viper had been expecting. This is in passing. They tagged me and Jay and said, as you both said, there's a link in this post where Alyssa's smear campaign starts for not getting a ticket to the Game Awards. Alyssa saying, clicking through, the majority of the space is sold out, knowing that they use seat fillers and that the most expensive tickets appear to be resellers. Still wild to not set aside tickets for press, developers, and others who work in the industry, which, as me and Jay discussed, they do that. In fact, that they do that for a lot of people in the industry. Alyssa is no longer part of the industry and not getting invited to it. So she went to Blue Cry to cry about it. She said, I asked about Game Awards press tickets in October. Got an email yesterday encouraging me to buy my own, as there were no spares. And she highlights the most expensive one that's over $1,000, and then posts, Geoff Keighley is a performative ally who only when it serves him. No way. And links game developers article. I think it's incredibly stupid of Keighley to collect some of the brightest people in our industry, do nothing but the bare minimum, and expect that we wouldn't say anything about it, said a second anonymous future class alumni. They accused the organization of using marginalized people for, quote, pats on the back. And Jay Viper talked about this future class alumni. And I was like, what the hell is this future class that you're talking about? And he briefly covered it when we were discussing it in the stream the other day. Let me bring that up here.
Well, okay, so the Arc Raiders review you talked about, right?
Yep.
That guy hates AI. Well, a bunch of people losing their jobs all over the industry, likely to AI. So future class, we'll talk about that in a second. They accuse the organization of using marginalized people for pats on the back.
This is the part.
Oh, boy. Right up our alley. What do we have here? What's happening? November 7th also. Remember, this is the same day she's complaining about not getting happening.
If you were a member of the Game Awards Future Class and can speak to your experience, I want to chat with you for The Guardian. DM me or email me, Signal Boost, please. So she's trying to find about people from this thing called the Future Class. And Jay dove into this a little bit in his video. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, these people, whatever, I don't care about. Just a bunch of quote unquote marginalized people that are being put on a list just because they were born a girl or non-binary or identify as I don't even know what the fucking words they use as, or they're black or whatever. And they get put on a list of, oh, you're one of the 50 people because you exist in the game space. So you're part of the futures class. Well, your qualification is you're black, you're gay, you're a lesbian, but you're a girl, you identify as a dude or a chick. What even is this stuff? And then we get the article. Support The Guardian. No thanks. We were effectively props. Young stars of game development feel let down by the gaming Oscars. Announced in 2020 by the Game Awards as an inclusive program for the industry's next generation, the Future Class initiative has now been discontinued. Inductees describe clashes with organizers and a lack of support from the beginning. So this is why you never pander to these people, because the second you start to back away from it, they will try to cancel you. It's not worth the risk to even be involved with them at all. And now we have articles being written by activists in the gaming space trying to push their agenda on people. Video games have long struggled with diversification and inclusivity. Have they? I thought this was the same chick that said the video game industry was diverse naturally. I'm very confused right now. So it was no surprise when the Game Awards host producer Geoff Keighley announced the Future Class program in 2020. Its purpose was to highlight a cohort of individuals working in video games as the quote unquote bright, bold, and inclusive future. So when I dive further into this, we got a list of the people. This was the class of 2022. Ready? You might actually recognize some names in here. Chris Kindred. This is the dude or chick. I don't even know what he or she even is, but they are black, and they are, I don't know, marginalized or whatever, the trans, whatever they are. I don't know, nor do I care. But they worked at Sweet Baby Inc. and they didn't like Cabrutus drawing attention to Sweet Baby Inc. with Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, the Steam curation group. So Chris Kindred was the one that tried to get Steam to take away all his games and ban him from Steam for daring to make a curation group about Sweet Baby Inc., saying these are games that I, as a gamer, would like to avoid. If you're that scared about someone doing that, it says a lot more about you than anything else. This is also the same Chris Kindred that contacted where I used to work and tried to get me fired by calling me a racist and homophobic and lots of other awful, awful things. And I'm like, well, damn. Thankfully, they contacted me and let me know about it, gave me all the information. I was like, wait a second, Chris Kindred, no way. They gave me the phone number and everything. I looked it up. The phone number that was called from was shown on his own website linking to him. So that's why I was like, I put two and two together when I was researching. I was like, there's no way Chris Kindred actually called where I used to work to try to get me fired. He did. He actually did that. And fun fact, turns out that was, from what I understand, the trigger point for what made Sweet Baby Inc. fire him. Not anything else, but that. Allegedly. This is all from secondhand from what I'm hearing. So I can't confirm any of this, but he is not at Sweet Baby Inc. anymore after that happened. Other people on this congratulate the future class. These, what high quality people on this list. Mary Kenny, the CD Projekt Red. I think she's LGBT, lesbian. I don't know what these people, what even they are, nor do I care what they do. They close the bedroom door at night. But she was the one that said, we need to pull every lever to insert LGBTQ narratives into games. All right. That's the futures class. These are the people on this list. That's the group that you'd want to be associated with. These are the people. You wonder why Geoff Keighley wants nothing to do with these people after the information comes to light. And we have more crying here. Alyssa Mercante, chatting with future class inductees for my latest Guardian. They paint a pretty clear picture of the perils of performative allyship. Thanks to all who spoke with me, and always to Kiza for the chance to do important work. Kiza McDonald, don't gather some of the most brilliant activists in the industry. Brilliant? You're going to need to start proving these words. You can't just say these words. They're meaningless. Chris Kindred, brilliant? Mary Kenny, brilliant? No, we know these people. They are not brilliant. They are activists with an agenda that are destroying the game industry from the inside out, rotting it to the core. And we're calling them out. They don't like us for that. And then expect us to do nothing about it after the Game Awards canceled its future class program. So shout out to Geoff Keighley for a very based move. But you know what's interesting? After this took place and I started researching it, it wasn't just Alyssa. In fact, when I searched future class Game Awards, look at this top stories. The Guardian. This is the one we were just talking about. Alyssa Mercante. Rock, paper, shotgun. The Game Awards future class inductees reckon their advocacy might be being punished as program is left by the wayside. The Gamer, 14 hours ago. The Game Awards doesn't care about the future of video games. And then 5 days ago, the Game Awards future class program remains on ice. All these articles, the three of these four specifically, are within the past 20 hours. Actually, within the last 17 hours. All three of them. So this is what we would call a coordinated, this is Alyssa is suing me, saying that I do coordinated videos with other people. This is a coordinated attack on the Game Awards. So if Alyssa were successful at suing me for what she calls coordination, Geoff Keighley would have a hell of a case against her, unless she hides behind, well, I'm press, I'm allowed to do it. But this is a coordinated, you can tell just by looking at the hours that these were posted. They're all slamming the Game Awards all at the same time with the same thing. The lack of advocacy for the agenda pushing activists. Yeah, that's a lot of A's. That's what these people do. When they don't get their way, they start to slander. They start to make you make things up or call people brilliant. And this person must be bigoted or things like that for daring to say, yeah, you guys are fucking cancer to the show. We can't keep doing this anymore. This move right here signals to me that Geoff Keighley has realized that the tide has turned. The pandering needs to come to an end and to stop pushing this propaganda forward. I would like to think that's what's happening. But then again, this is the same Geoff Keighley that puts that Amir Savant guy at the front of the stage pushing the games industry job finder. When it finds out the guy is like a executive for, what was it, Tencent? And it's like, wait a second. I thought he was just this humble dude helping people get jobs in the industry. Oh, no, this is an executive for a major multi-billion-dollar corporation. He's not just some humble guy. They left that tiny little part out when they talked about that at the Game Awards. I'd like to think Geoff Keighley's getting better than that, but time will tell. This year's Game Awards is going to be very interesting because it will designate a shift in a cultural dynamic depending on what Geoff Keighley talks about and, more importantly, who he puts up there to promote, because that speaks volumes. And it sounds to me, based off of the stories that are coming out right now, that the activists in the game industry are not very happy, which signals to me that he actually might be becoming a little bit more based. And that I can definitely get behind. But we'll see. Time will tell. But in the meantime, Alyssa and her henchmen are very big mad on the internet. But I'll leave that one right there.